Oh, I gotta do this one live too. What am I doing? Live video. Live right there. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Multi-camera happening today. Rebels! It's so good to see you. If you are seeing me from a funny angle, it's because we are broadcasting live at facebook.com/Rebble Parenting for today's live Q&A on our friend Sarah Beckman's book, Alongside. You know what's nice? This is unlike, see over here on my phone, it's backwards.
Yep.
Yeah, on the J. Ryan Dobson. You're backwards over there. So all you people on J. Ryan Dobson, look at you right here. You should be going to facebook.com/Rebble Parenting for the upgrade stuff. I see all 4 of you right there, on 5 of you. Fantastic. So good to see all of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being on Rubble Parenting. It's fantastic to be on here. Alongside Sarah Beckman, the upgrade. I'm having so much fun. I got to tell you, we're going to start with my favorite thing, YouVersionBible.com, verse of the day. It's 1 Thessalonians 5:15. I have missed doing this. Do you have the app? Have you downloaded it yet? Is it changing your life like it does mine? See that no one repays anyone evil for evil, but always seek to do good to one another and to everyone. I'm going to read that again because this totally pertains to this book today. See that no one repays anyone evil for evil, but always seek to do good to one another and to everyone. What a blessing, what a blessing. Once again, all you people on J. Ryan Dobson, if you switch over to facebook.com/Rebble Parenting, you get the better view with all the stuff on it. It's the Rebble Parenting one up there. So good. Also, if you want to get bonuses, we're giving away DVD sets today on the broadcast. Right now we're giving away DVD sets. And the only way to get that is to text the word upgrade to 345-345. We'll be giving away DVD sets today. So I'm going to start with, I think, one of the most... You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm as blind as I could possibly be. I'll do it right here for right now, and then just throw one of those open.
Okay.
Is that cool? Mm-hmm. Here, watch, I'll hold this.
You just hold it right.
That's right.
There.
What's up, Instagram? How you doing?
Perfect.
So the forward of Alongside by Sarah Beckman. This is an important one for us, and we're doing this one for free. I said it in the email I sent it a couple of days ago. Again, you get the email if you text the word upgrade to 345-345. We're doing this one for free because it is so helpful. This one, for us, everybody goes through crisis. And if everyone goes through crisis, then we all need this kind of help. And this book, Alongside, it says, a practical guide for loving your neighbor in their time of trial. And I got to tell you, when that bomb gets dropped on you, when someone tells you that they get the cancer diagnosis like we did, or something happens with a child, or they lose a job, a death in the family, and then you just get that, oh, what do I do? I know I should do something, and we get that shame and that guilt, and then I'll pray for you, something along those lines. We all feel this way. So the foreword, it's such a beautiful piece. I'm only going to read 2 paragraphs from it. It is from Michelle Cushett, and she is the author of Undone, a story of making peace with an unexpected life. I like that too because my very first podcast was called the Undone Podcast, and so I have a little relation to that too. It says, when I first met Kate, she was already knee-deep in crisis. She showed up in the Tuesday night Bible study I led, Bible in hand and scarf on her head. She'd recently moved with her husband from out of state, and was anxious to find a new circle of friends. I felt a near instant kinship at our meeting, her sweet spirit and sincere faith drawing me to her like a moth to a light. After hearing her story, a story thick with the diagnosis and grim prognosis of pancreatic cancer, I determined to find ways to help. Problem was, I didn't know what to do. I knew how to lead a Bible study, but how do you help a woman with cancer? What do you say to someone who might not live? You pray, of course. You always pray. But I wanted to do more, something tangible to ease her suffering. But the only thing I could think to do was to cook. It's the one thing I do when I don't know what to do. So when Kate mentioned in passing that she craved bread during her constant cancer treatments, I set out to make the best bread she'd ever had. Pancreatic cancer is brutal to the body, the digestive system in particular, but homemade bread, she couldn't get enough of it. And then the last paragraph in here was so, man. It says, like homemade bread hot from the oven, you will satisfy the suffering soul's craving for the presence of another. In the process, I think you'll find a little soul satisfaction for yourself as well. I started our first week off talking about that because that really did speak to me. That was a big one for me. We did get the cancer diagnosis. Again, that's why we're giving this one away for free, because it spoke to us so deeply. And as I said in the email a couple days ago, I wish I would have read this deeper when we interviewed Sarah, because I would have handled the situation a little bit differently. And currently, I'm able to handle it a little differently because of this book. And I just think it's beautiful. I'm getting along with Laura in our time of crisis in a better way because I read this book, because it changed me, because it gave me new ideas, because it allows me to minister to her in a better way. And now, as we move through recovery, as we get healthier and healthier, when crisis erupts around us, we have so many more tools to know what to do. Now, when someone says, oh, that, it's so crazy, even with our cancer diagnosis, even with all the things that are going on, life doesn't stop around us. We've had family friend pass away. We've had sickness in friends' families, things like that. It's crazy. We have so many things. Laura looks at me and she goes, okay, should we do this, or this? There's all these options we have now. Do they have a meal train? They don't have a meal train. Have they heard of meal train? Is there an alternative that they're using for meal train? Do they have a circle of friends? What are their immediate needs right now? There's so many good things. The big one I learned from part one, and it's the first thing Laura and I talk about in our 1-hour upgrade marriage conference, and that is, it's not about you. We call it putting aside your big thing. Like if you're going to go to a marriage conference and you're struggling with this thing that you won't get past, well, that'll be waiting for you at the end of it. But can you put it away so you can work on your marriage right now? In this instance, it's just reminding yourself on a consistent basis, there's another person in crisis. It has nothing to do with you, your past, your story, your experience, if you've gone through it before and how you felt and how the treatment affected you and the things you needed. It has nothing to do with you. It's only about ministering to another person. And that's crazy. I mean, our entire culture is built on telling you that you're the most important thing in your life. No one knows anything better than you, and you're number one all the time, right? I mean, that's what our culture is doing. And so we get stuck in that. We get stuck in our own story. I was talking to someone on a coaching call yesterday, and they were explaining a situation, and I fell right into my own story. And I could feel my heart rate rising, and I was remembering a situation that happened to me that I was relating to. It had nothing to do with him. And my experience had nothing to do with him or what he's going through. And I just said, hey, you know what? I am getting triggered by this. I'm going back into my story. Let me pause for a moment so I can put you back into the centerpiece. That's what you're doing when someone's in crisis. Right now, if you're not in the middle of a crisis, you go, oh yeah, totally, I get it. That other person is first place, right? You're going to put them first place. It's, if you go to Kanakuk camps with Joe White, you learn that I am third. God first, others second, I'm third. And that's, this philosophy that, we always put God first, pray, always pray. The other person we're putting before ourselves, we're third kind of a thing. It's easy to talk about. It is. It's not as easy when a real crisis strikes, because when crisis does strike, people can be irrational. They can be irritable. They can say crazy things. And this is where we have to designify ourselves. This is where we have to put the other person first. Because in a crisis, we say irrational things. We say mean things. We lash out, especially when it comes to things like mental illness. Maybe it's not just a cancer diagnosis or a divorce that someone's going through. And if it is, by all means, they're going to say irrational, crazy, mean, hurtful things too, probably. when it comes to mental illness, man, it can be really, really painful. I think he'd be okay with me saying this. One of my best friends in the world has a parent that struggles with paranoid schizophrenia. And that parent says terrible things to my friend when they talk. And this is the hard part. When we talk about it, right here in our prefrontal cortex, we understand this person has schizophrenia. They don't mean any of the things that they're saying. But it looks like his parent, and it sounds like his parent, and it dresses like his parent, and it is his parent, except it's not too, right? If that mental illness wasn't there, that parent would say all the things my friend longs to hear. They would be the parent my friend longs to have. And so when that parent says crazy, ridiculous things, my friend is choosing to not lash out and not fight and not erase them from their lives. They're just going through it. They're just struggling with it and trying to find a new perspective, trying to find a new way to look at that parent. That's a tough one. It is. That's a tough one. Sometimes it gets funny. It depends. You can choose a new perspective. It's so hard right when you're in the middle of it. It's hard right when the diagnosis hits and you just think, what we do is we look 5-10 years down the road. Like, with Laura and I, with what we're going through with the cancer, I think, what's it going to be like in 3 months? What's it going to be like in 6 months? Are we going to need another surgery? Is it going to come back? She has to go into a dermatologist every 3 months. I start looking 5-10 years down the road. And if you start adding up everything you're going to do in 5 and 10 years right now, it's pretty overwhelming. So when you pull yourself out of it and you go, yeah, but we're going to do this today. And then tomorrow, and then we're going to do something the next day. And you start getting into it. You start getting into a rhythm, and it goes up and down, and it's all crazy. And there are moments of humor. There are funny things. I have a friend, his dad, when he was younger, had a stroke. And it was tough. Like, I can remember when we were young, and I didn't know what a stroke was. My dad hadn't had his stroke yet. You just don't know what these things are. And I think it was like late junior high, early high school, right in that, just that formative period of time. And there's this drastic change in a person, because they're having difficulty walking and talking and, all these things going on. And then there were other things that just happened because it was a traumatic brain injury. That's, what a stroke that's what happens. And I can tell you in the beginning, it was very unsettling and upsetting for the family when certain behaviors started to come out. And goodness, I don't even know if I should say this, Kay. My friend's dad started to give people the finger. And by the way, super Christian family, very conservative. I mean, been to church the whole lives, like the deal. You know what I'm talking about? Like, we all know, Justin Murphy, I see you. You know what I'm talking about? Like, we grew up together. Lindsay, I see you. Producer Case here. Like, you know what I'm talking about. This is so out of the ordinary. And when it first started happening, I mean, it was like people, like, you could just see, like, his wife would be like, and jump over and explain. And it would rile him up. And there was this confusion and all these things, we were just talking about it the other day. After a while, it just became this funny thing where they didn't even respond anymore. Like, I remember one time he gave his wife the finger, and she gave it to him back. And I was like, I'm like, I don't know, freshman in high school, and my friend's mom gave her husband the finger, and I was like, what? Like, oh my goodness, like, what? And then everybody laughed. And I remember at that point, it was like, oh, that's not weird anymore. It's just funny. And then when it happened, when it happened again, it was like, oh, it is what it is. And I think one of the things that Alongside is doing is allowing me to sit with what is, right? We were at the surgeon yesterday with Laura, and we learned all kinds of things about her new lip. We learned things about the future. We learned things about the present. We learned things about how it will look. All kinds of things that we didn't know before. And some of those things we don't like. Some of those things were good news. Some of the things were just tough. But it is what it is. And in accepting that, it just allows she and I to get along better. And I tell you another one. I'm learning to stop saying I understand when I don't. Laura will tell me how she's feeling or what's going on, and I say I understand. And it dawned on me, I don't understand. I've not had cancer, and I've not had facial reconstructive surgery. I have not gone through any of the things that she's gone through. I didn't go through chemo. I didn't go through cryo. I didn't go through any of that. I don't have any idea. And I've now said I can't even imagine, because I can't. I can't imagine the things that she has gone through or experienced or how it feels. I can't imagine any of it. I can't imagine. And I'm so sorry. And that seems to help a little bit more, because she knows I don't understand. She knows I don't know how she feels. And so I'm so sorry. I can't even imagine. I can't imagine what you're going through. I can't imagine. I can't imagine what you're going through and trying to hold it together. I can't imagine what you're going through and trying to do a broadcast. I can't imagine what you're going through and hugging the kids. I can't imagine what you're going through and cooking breakfast. I can't. I can't imagine. I can't imagine what that would be like. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that I can't relate too. All of those things. This is the interesting one too. When you stop making it about you, there's no more there's no more feeling bad about not having answers. It's just relating and being present for a person. You don't have to say, I'm sorry, I don't have answers for you, because that's placing the responsibility on a person to be like, oh, it's okay. But it's just being there with them. It's being Job's friends when they were silent, right? Just being with a person is so cool. It's so cool. I can't tell you how great our friends have been during this time for just letting us be like, right? I have just, goodness gracious, producer K, how many times have I just flat out melted down, right?
As many as you needed.
Yeah. I have just been a mess through this situation. A mess. And I gotta say, the friends that have come out and just been like, oh yeah, of course. Yeah, for sure. Of course you should act crazy and inappropriate and freak out and melt down. Of course. You've lost all your sleep. You're doing too much. And it's like, oh, okay. All right. I'm going to tell you one story, then we're going to do questions, because we've got a grip of questions. My goodness, thank you for sending questions in. Man, I appreciate it. I see that there are comments going on. I'm not going to read them because it gets me off track. Producer Kay is right over here, and she is collecting your questions. That's a better one. She's collecting your questions, and we will get to those in just a little bit. There's an interesting piece that related to me, maybe it has to you or not. I'm not positive. I'm just going to tell you our story because that's what we're doing. And if you want to talk about yours, by all means, we would love to talk about that as well. And if you have things you're struggling with in this book that you want to talk about, again, you don't need to have sent your questions in. You can ask them right now, and we will get to that for sure. In the middle of all this, we changed some of our numbers. And when Laura had her surgery, her phone she's had the same number. It's the first cell phone number she's ever had. She's never had a different number, I don't think. And people were just amazingly kind with reaching out and trying to find out what could they do to help, and did we need anything, and how are we feeling, all those things. Again, this is such a double-sided coin. The love was overwhelming. It was just overwhelming. And it was overwhelming. Does that make sense? The love was overwhelming. And when we were asked, what can we do? I have to say, when that crisis hit, it knocked me on my heels. All of you that are familiar with live videos remember early on how I was like, we're going to hit this, and we've been through this, and we've been through harder before, and just you see, we're gonna plow right through this. We're gonna soldier on. And my goodness, did I get just knocked on my rear and fell flat on my face. We have not been through worse. Nope. Haven't been through worse. On any level, haven't been through worse. Goodness gracious. So, change numbers, had not sent them out, and had forgotten to send Laura's new number to two of her best, longest friends. I mean, team sport, you name it, they did it together. Best, longest friends. You know what I'm talking about. Best, longest friends. I forgot. And I'm taking care of kids and trying to get meals. Everything's going on. It's chaos 24/7. And I got reached out to a couple times, and it was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get to it, and had forgotten. And well over a month. Today's 49 days since surgery. Well over a month went by, and I had not given her two of her best friends, her number. And we were talking to someone who we had recently given Laura's number to, and they just kind of made this is way too vulnerable, but they kind of made a comment, a remark. I gotta be honest, it was a remark that I had read in this book word for word. It may have been in the section of things maybe you shouldn't do. And I'll tell you what, this is what I want to say 100%. I understand it so much more because I'm reading this and I'm studying it so much more deeply. I get the comment. I absolutely get the comment, for sure. And if anybody should have been giving me those kind of comments, if anybody should have been giving me a whole bunch of grief and flack for not having Laura's number in her time of need and crisis, it should have been these two dear, dear closest friends. And when that comment got made, I thought, oh my goodness, I haven't given the people that need her number the number. And immediately went home, texted, said, I'm so sorry, here's Laura's number. And neither, they both said, oh, so glad to hear from you. It's so great. Oh my goodness, how are you? I'm so glad you're okay. How are you? Is there anything we could do? That was it. I was expecting, hey man, in the future, if you could keep us informed, like I get it. I totally know you're under pressure, and we've been in the dark for a while. Like I expected something, and what I got was, oh my goodness, we love you so much. How can we help? How can we help? We love you so much. And it was just such a lesson in friendship. It was a lesson in friendship it's not about what I know or anything. It's not about my feelings in any way, shape, or form. It's not. And it really taught me a big thing about being a husband. It did. Laura, would you be okay with this? There have been times during her treatment process and during this time that she has melted down, as I have. And there have been times where I've not handled it well, and I am handling it better now. And I want to thank Sarah for doing that. Let's get with questions.
All right.
Hit me.
Okay. So,
Your mommy's watching. Hey, Bev.
I have a lot of
Okay, all you guys, I'm just saying over here, okay? See, if you look at this is the good screen, and you're on my regular page. I get it. I do. And I need you to head over to Rubble Parenting if possible. It's facebook.com/Rubble Parenting. It should be right there. It's me, okay? You'll get a better view. I'm back up here. See, I see you guys there. And again, if you want a DVD set, do you have one right in front of you, Kay? Look at that. Look at this. It's Building a Family Legacy with Dr. James Dobson and Ryan Dobson. What? Oh my goodness. Your legacy, bringing up boys, bringing up girls, strong-willed child, dare to discipline, love for a lifetime, straight talk to men, and wanting to believe with what yours truly. We're giving these away. I'm going to mail it out to you for free. And to do that, text upgrade to 345-345. You'll get our text updates. If you get sick of them, unsubscribe. Otherwise, you'll get a free DVD set. Soon. Hit me with a question.
All right. So Crystal asked, what if you are not sure what level of friendship or relationship you are in with the person going through a trial?
Yeah. Do I need to get to that page? So this is in the tiers. I should have pulled my notes up. In the tiers of connectedness, essentially, of what tier are you in? Here we go in the It's Not About You. Big picture. Know your place. Anybody at old school WWF back in the day before they had the lawsuit with the World Wildlife Foundation? It's now the WWE. Anybody back in the day? Anybody? Know your role. Who was that? It's The Rock.
Oh.
Know your role. When The Rock was little, before he was The Rock today. Know your role. The tiers. Tier 1, caregiver, close family or friend. Tier 2, friend, neighbor, coworker, church member, team member on a sports team, a work team member, shared interests, or organizations. Tier 3, acquaintance, friend, or family of a friend. So like your mom would be that. Actually, she'd probably be more than that because it's your mom, but
yeah.
I know that's... knowledge by association. Tier 4, infrequent interaction, don't know them personally, or you've never met. In fact, some of you are that. Some of you joined on Meal Train that we've never met, and you donated and sent stuff in. Oh my goodness, I can't even believe it. That's like the craziest. Look at that, a bunch of you from here coming over there. I appreciate it. That was so amazing. This really does help. The tiers really do help, Crystal, in figuring out where you are. And so you can kind of check those boxes. Are you a caregiver? Well, clearly not if you're wondering what tier you're in and you're not the caregiver. Close family or friend. You know, sometimes we think our friendship is closer than it is. Sometimes we pretend it's not as close as it is to get out of helping. But this is a great one. This is a great one. And then once you figure out what tier you're in, this is such a good one too. It kind of helps you know what's appropriate and inappropriate for you to give, right? Like if you're tier 3 and 4, babysitting kids, probably not for you. They don't know you. That would be hard. Tier 1 and 2, for sure. Babysitting kids, definitely. Here's a good one. Tier 1 and 2, you could probably come in the house if that's appropriate. You'll already know you should ask before you come over if it's appropriate. And I'm guessing tier 1 and 2, if you know this person well, and maybe not. Maybe I'm just assuming that. I'll tell you, here's a good tip. 1, ask if it's okay to come over. If you're bringing kids, for sure, ask if you can bring your kids. Offer to leave whatever it is on the door if you're bringing a meal from Meal Train. Hey, we'll just leave it in the cooler on the door. Get it whenever you want. Or we'll leave it with a neighbor or whatever that is. Those are big ones. And the tiers really do help know your role in this. And I know there's probably some people going, oh, no, did we do this? Did we flood your house of kids? Was that? No. We had, I can't even tell you how great our in the worst time of our life, people have been the greatest to us in this. I mean, in the worst time of our life, people have been just amazing to us. The prayers, here's a big one too. We had a lot of our friends be like, hey, you know, we're in the same boat you are. We don't have that much money right now. We can't really donate to your fund. And I was like, wow. Of course, if you don't have it, don't do it. And people would send us prayers, and it just was blowing us away. I forgot to bring Sarah Beckman's little blue note cards in today, the scripture ones. Oh, they're just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Oh, good. We'll do it next week. This one, I cry all the time on here. I read those and just bawl. I bawl. They were so special. That's a good question. Hit me with another one.
All right. Again from Crystal.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes.
Where is it? I have heard not to compare my situation with someone else's in a time of need, but it Is it ever appropriate to say you know how they are feeling?
Ooh, didn't we just talk about this?
Yeah, and how you came out of the situation.
Yeah. This has been an interesting one. We definitely had a number of people that have gone through cancer reach out. Okay, I can tell you this for sure. This time around with Laura and I cannot think of one person that reached out with their experience where it didn't speak to me on a personal level in some way. I can't speak for Laura in this. Honestly, I cannot speak for Laura in this at all because it wasn't me going through it. I will, though, tell you, when my dad went through his heart attack, I got insanely inappropriate phone calls and letters from people. Not emails, because it didn't exist at that point. But I got a number of letters saying, if your dad doesn't follow this protocol, he will die. Like telling, a teenager your dad's going to die if you don't convince him to do this crazy thing a stranger has sent you out of the blue. And so I'll tell you what, there's a good one. Woo. I'll make some Christians mad here. I apologize. First off, figure out what tier you're in. Once you figure that out, if you're in tier 3 or 4, I'm sorry, but any words from the Lord, you should definitely write those down and put them in an envelope. Maybe mail it to yourself and leave it sealed. And if that prophetic word comes true, then you've got an amazing story to tell. Okay? You're tier 1 or 2. I would be very, very careful in what you attribute to the creator of all things. During this time that we're going through alongside, I had someone write me whose spouse had was in a car accident and had a traumatic brain injury, and he had 2 young children at the time, like 6th grade, 8th grade, and people regularly would come up to them and say, the Lord told me he is going to heal your dad completely. The Lord has said your dad's going to make a full recovery and he will be talking and walking again. And yes, in eternity, that will happen. But it did not happen. And those kids have had a very tough road to the Lord because of someone else's word from God that was inappropriate. Highly, highly inappropriate. Yeah, sorry, highly inappropriate. Again, I know there's comments coming on, and I'm so happy that you're doing that. In just a few minutes, I will make sure Producer Kay looks at those, and we will answer all of those and make comments on things you guys are saying, so I totally appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, okay, so I'll go another funny one. I had a friend, his wife started going into dementia as she got older. That is not funny. That is a total tragedy. She started going away and, all the things that happens, like straight up Notebook, right? Except dementia, people get angry and agitated and things like that. And her filter just kind of went away. That happened with my grandma. My grandma, I won't say which one, in late stages, started to curse every now and then. And that was scandalous in our circle, which is kind of hilarious. The filter went away, and I forget, they were sitting at the table, and she said, pass the salt, and he was like, just a second, and was looking at something else, and all of a sudden felt his lap get incredibly wet, and she had just kind of went like, and he looked up and she was like, salt, please. It was just like, this is the crazy, again, that is a situation where people can explode and blow up. And are you kidding? We've got to drive and all those things. It's dementia. It just is. It just happens. You can choose to look at it in a different way. I will tell you, this is the hard part. We talk about the funny things where, my buddy gets water dumped in his lap and we laugh about it now. And I will tell you, regularly, and let's talk about this too. Let's talk about diabetes in a second. Let's talk about celiac too in a second, okay? Regularly, my friend has a time with the Lord where he grieves all the things he'll never have again until eternity. Yeah, it's funny that the water got dumped in his lap and we laugh about it now, and he doesn't have the relationship with his wife anymore, and it's not coming back until eternity. And because of the finality of that, because there is a end date somewhere in sight, because it does not have the ability to get better, the finality is overwhelming at times. And so to learn how to grieve the finality is important. To understand it from... Now here's the other one too. And so let's jump into this. We have a friend whose little boy was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. That's the one, that's not sugar diabetes, right? That's the...
It's not from his diet. No.
There you go, yeah.
Yep.
That's what I'm
talking about. Autoimmune.
Right, yeah. And you guys have celiac in your family, right? Mm-hmm. So that's another thing too. So when you're from the outside, when it's not experienced in your family... Man, I gotta say, it stinks. It stinks when a little boy gets diagnosed with that and they're doing the pinprick on a regular basis, because it hurts every time. You know this, right? It hurts every time. Like, well, yeah, you get used to it. He's 8. 8 sucks, man. 8 sucks to get your finger pricked. It sucks, man. It's so rough. It's so rough. And from the outside, there are times where we've got to remember the finality that kid's going to live with that forever, man. If he dies at 88, it's 80 years of pinpricking, 80 years of monitoring, 80 years of low blood sugar, 80 years of headache, heartache, hassle, struggle. 80 years? And I got to tell you, at 8, every now and then, they just need to have a little meltdown to say, I wish this wasn't going to be forever. And parents, siblings, grandmas and grandpas, aunts and uncles, friends, in those times, because here's when they're going to happen. They're going to happen in the supermarket. They're going to happen in the middle of church. They're going to happen when that friend that you're nervous around because they look like a superstar and their makeup's always perfect and their husband's super hot are walking by, and that's when your kid wants to have the mad, crazy meltdown. Right? I get it. Man, I had one the other day. It was too much, right? It was just too much. So I went in the garage and wept in the garage. And it's okay. Right? That's what we say here. It's okay. It's super important. It's super important because you can't tell the world this stuff doesn't hurt. Man, alongside is about, yeah, it's ugly, it's messy. It's what I said in that email. I was telling my dad, we're going on Family Talk to talk about Rubble Parenting. He wants to tell his listeners about Rubble Parenting. And I said, listen, he said, what do you do? And I said, we are giving people the tools so that when the crisis, the struggle, the muck, the dirt, the mud, the awkward situations happen, that the rebels out there look at that and go, yeah, let's get dirty. Let's jump in. Let's get awkward. Let's have that. Let's give them the tools so it's not the anxiety, but it's the, hey, we can do this. We can do this together. We can. All right. Questions?
All right. So AL from Colorado Springs asked, what if you are the one receiving the help? How do you ask for it and know what you need?
Ooh, yeah. How do you ask for help and know what you need? Woo, was I bad at this? And my small group helped me through this. They were like, what are you doing? Say yes. And yes, when you need help, how do you ask for it? Here's the great thing, just ask. Just ask. I tell you what's interesting about our world today. If people don't want to do it, they won't. There's very little obligation left in our universe. I just ask. I mean, just be vulnerable and ask. This is the thing. Learn the vulnerability. Learning vulnerability will help every other aspect of your life. Learn the vulnerability. Learn the vulnerability enough just to ask. Just reach out and say, hey, I need help. Hey, I'm not doing it. You know what? In the middle of this, I had a full-blown, I was trying to do it. I was just trying to do it. I mean, if I pulled up the schedule that I created, like, it's beautiful. Like, it's amazing. I really did a good job. I'm not very organized. I did a good job. And I mean, I had tutors and babysitters and work schedule and, you know, who's driving, where we're going to be, and doctor appointments and therapy and all these things. And I'm staying up later and later and later and getting up earlier and earlier and earlier. And I was at my parents' house and they were like, what do you weigh? And I was like, what? I'm like, I look good. And they were like, no, you don't. And I had lost 11 pounds and they just stepped in. They were like, you've done too much. I hadn't asked. And they said, who else is in your circle? And I reached out to our good friends. I mean, I'll just say them here, man. Etienne and Megan in our small group, and Haley and Dave, and Jay and Linda, and Jed and Natalie, and Nick and Jesse, and Marshall and Lindsay. Who am I missing? Ooh, man, if I miss and James. This is the worst. You know what I'm saying? If you do that block on your intimate small group I've been with for the past 3 years, and I forget a couple, and then they're like, those people stepped in, man. They stepped. I'm telling you. In fact, Marshall and Lindsay weren't even in our small group. He's just my best friend. And it was a Sunday, and Laura sent a text out to a couple girls in our small group, and I don't know what it said, but it was like, I'm sad. And they just gathered all the troops, and someone called Marshall and was like, you're Ryan's best friend, right? And he was like, what? And they're like, come over with your wife. No. And then they were like, you're in our small group now. And he was like, excuse me? Yeah. Friendship. Super cool. I love that question.
Yeah.
Asking, for sure. Okay?
Okay, so how many times do you offer help to someone who keeps saying no, even when you are being specific?
Ooh. Okay, so what they're assuming is this person definitely needs help and they're not accepting it, right? That's a good question. You know what's going to be amazing? What's going to be super amazing is on the 24th, we can ask Sarah Beckman herself this question. Won't it be fun to compare my answers to her answers? This will be so fun. This will be so fun. Because I haven't just really poured through the last section of this book. Here's what I would say. It depends on what type of help you are offering. Because then you can just preempt it. So if you're offering to bring meals and they're turning you down, then just show up with frozen stuff in a cooler and leave it there and say, stick it in your freezer, heat it up whenever you want. Or gift cards. That was one thing. I went to college with a bunch of guys and we're on this online forum called SOC that we've been on since college. And I had 2 or 3 people from there send gift cards or donate on Meal Train. They were like, hey, we don't live near you and we can't bring a meal and we're so sorry. And I hadn't even told them, that's how much in crisis I was. This group I've known since 1991. I forgot to tell immediately. And of course, because they're real friends, they just jumped in. Things like housekeeping, stuff like that. Oh man, people have a hard time, right? And then another perspective, because I don't know this relationship intimately, maybe the tiers are askew. Mm-hmm. Maybe the person's offering tier 1, 2 help when they should be offering tier 3, 4 help. I'm not, again, I don't know the situation.
Okay. All right. You ready for the next one?
Yeah.
When in the presence with someone grieving, how do you know it's right to be silent versus talk?
Ooh, here's what I can say. Virtually all the time, silence is better than talking. Really, for sure and for real, here's what you got to tell yourself. If I was diagnosed with cancer, would this... Oh man, I was going to be so snotty and say out of context, cherry-picked scripture help me right now. So that's my judgment on it. You know, this is a great one. I teach a class to high school students at Summit in the summertime on grief and suffering and on what to do. And this is one of the things I tell them. If you were in this situation and somebody else offered you the advice, phrase, scripture, song, platitude, whatever it is, how would you feel? How would you feel? And really, honestly ask yourself that question. Honestly ask yourself that question. There are very few things that we can say that make someone feel better. Brene Brown, in fact, okay, let's post those little the animated cartoon on empathy from Brene Brown. Okay. You know, one of the things that she says when people come to her with crisis that I have heard said to me and that I now say to other people is, I am so honored that you would share this with me. Because what a sign of friendship, vulnerability, humility. I mean, all the things you want from a person. They share a crisis with you and just be like, wow, thank you so much for sharing that with me. Thank you. What an honor. I tell you one of the big things I have learned to do, and I'm now saying it out loud. Most of the time when someone's talking to me, I'm listening to what they're saying, thinking about what I'm going to say in return. And I know when somebody's not listening to me, I don't feel accepted or understood or listened to. And so I'm learning now to wait until someone is done speaking before I think about what I want to say. And because that's super awkward, because that's not what we do, I just tell people, I go, so they'll stop and I'll do this and I'll go, most of the time when people are talking, I'm thinking of what I want to say and I don't think I'm being very present. And so what I'm trying to do now is listen to people and then think of what I want to say. And so it's taking me a little bit longer and I get like weird looks and funny smiles. And I get people going, oh, wow. Huh. And so, really listening, because what we want to do is problem solve. When somebody is in crisis and they're weeping and crying and we know they are in crisis, we want to problem solve. And we don't need problems solved. Here's the great one. What would the Lord do? The other morning when I had the meltdown in the garage and I just bawled my eyes out in the garage. I was working out in the gym and I was listening to Chronological Bible and I'm super far behind. I was like 68 days behind. So behind. Thanks so much, YouVersion, for not putting me at where I left off, but showing me where I'm supposed to be and then showing me the number of the days I've missed. I love you. And the Bible guilt didn't help me in that moment. So I went all the way back into Job, where I should have been. And it was where Job was crying out, and he was saying that the Lord wasn't listening to him, and the Lord was hiding his face from him, and I'm going to the east and the west, and he's not there, and the north and south, and he's hidden his face from me, and the Lord is breaking my bones, and all these things he's attributing to God. And I was in the garage going, I don't believe it. I don't believe that for a second. I believe the Lord has his arms around me right this instant. That he is so grieved that I am in turmoil and trouble. That he is grieved and he cares about me and he sees the path forward and he knows the road ahead. And I am the one that's blind and I am the one that's unfaithful and I am the one that's weak and he is the one that's strong. He's right there. It's just me that doesn't feel it. It's only me. And in this time, like my best friend Tobin, he was the best man at my wedding. Man, I've known him for he was co-host of my radio program. This is the funny thing. One of the people I'm closest to in life, they did bring a meal. They did. Let's see. I don't know if I've seen him. I think I've seen him one time since Laura had her surgery. And people are like, how is he that close of a friend? He's texted me because he knows exactly what I need. That's how good of a friend he is. He knows I don't need him to show up at my house. Like Marshall comes over and we do stuff all the time. Tobin sends me exactly what I need when I need it. Because he knows me that well. And I think rarely is it time to talk. And when it is, for sure read the person. For sure read the situation. If they become disinterested and glazed over immediately, it's not the right situation. And maybe it's not the right time. Maybe they will be in a position to hear what you have to say at some point. Just maybe not now. And here's the thing too. I get asked all the time, when should someone get over whatever this thing is? Whenever it's time. And it's for sure, not up to you to figure out when it's time. I remember I was dealing with a family and they had some abuse and the dad was asking when his daughter was going to get over it. And so I'm so glad she wasn't in the room. So glad she didn't hear that. And so we had a long chat. More questions. Hit me.
All right. Aaron asked, where have you found that there's a time where helping may not be the best?
Yeah, helping isn't the best when it's going to interrupt someone's life. I wonder if they're meaning enabling help or if, is it enabling help? Oh, well, if it's enabling help, then yeah, it's not. That's tough. Oof, that's really, really tough. I'll tell you what, if you feel that, so I wonder if the person is reaching out, asking for help, but that person's feeling that would be enabling to them if they were to give that help. Yeah, third party. Definitely get a third party. That's tough. In fact, there is, by the way, it is not for the faint of heart. It is not safe for work. It is not kid safe on any level. But Kevin Smith is a filmmaker and a director. This will not be a part of a mainstream Christian audience in their library, probably. I've read a couple of his books. He has a best friend who struggled with deep opioid and heroin addiction for years and years and years, and they did a podcast together talking about what it was like to have your very, very best friend become a heroin addict and how they went through it. I cried the whole way through. It is blue. It is crass. It's very, 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 very real. I think it's like a 6 or an 8-part series where he tells that whole story. You can probably find it online somewhere. And it's brutal. In this situation, Kevin went to a counselor and asked him what he should do. And the person said, you have to cut them completely out of your life, 100% until they get the help and they can behave in a way to come back in. And he said, what if he dies? And he said, he's going to if you don't. This way, maybe he won't. But if you keep enabling him, if you keep bailing him out, for sure he will die. And man, I cannot imagine. I'll tell you what, let's go to personal, right? You want to go to the personal? Here is when helping hurts. This guy, Ryan, went away to college. I went to Olivet Nazarene University in Kankakee, Illinois. I'm probably going to go a little over because we've got more questions. See?
A few comments.
Okay, good. I'm going to hit the comments right after the story. I went there. I stayed for 2.5 years, and I got really bad grades. And my parents said, Ryan, if you get bad grades, we cannot pay for your college. And I thought, come on. What are you going to say to your friends? Of course you'll pay for my college. You really believe in this stuff. And I didn't mean it in a prideful, arrogant way. I just didn't believe them. I wasn't doing it spitefully. I wasn't doing it to throw it in their face. I just didn't think they would follow through. And after 2.5 years of getting bad grades, my dad had said, if you get another D, we won't pay for college anymore. And I'll never forget, it was the semester that ends at Christmas. And I got a D, and my dad said, I'm so sorry, Ryan, but we believe everything that we own is the Lord's. And if I know without a shadow of a doubt you're going to waste God's money, I can't give it to you. And my little ridiculous binary brain was like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. And so they just said, find a place to live, but you can't come home. Yeah. And that is the impetus for me turning my life around. I moved to Manitou Springs, Colorado, about 15 minutes from here. I lived in a 100-year-old cabin. It was a disaster. I went into crazy debt. I had a horrible job. I learned what kind of jobs you can get if you have no skill set and no education. And after about 10 months of getting up at 4:30 every day to go work in a kitchen where my boss screamed and cursed at me every day, my dad said, he goes, I can't believe you stayed at that job. I thought you'd quit for sure. They said, we'll give you another shot at college. And I said, yes. And I absolutely did not waste it. I did not waste it. And when I got into trouble with grades, I got tutors. And I called my parents ahead of time and said, I'm struggling and I need a tutor. And I don't want this to be a surprise when it comes out. And you can call my professor. And I will call the professor. And we can work out a plan. And I tell you what, it was the best thing for me. And so in the enabling sense, absolutely, totally understand. All right.
Cool.
Missy, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, Missy, I'm so glad you're on here. I have some great friends that have done a lot of work with type 1 diabetes. And if you will email me, I think we've emailed before, even on SoundCloud, help@rubbleparenting.org, I will get you that information because I've given it out to a couple of people and they seem to have been helped by it. So I will definitely get that to you. Yes. We've got some good comments out here. I keep seeing them pop up.
Yeah.
Lindsay just said earlier, Lindsay is my friend Marshall's wife, and her mom recently passed away. And I did see she had written a comment saying, when people, kept asking, how can we help? How can we help? That's the thing. In the middle of a crisis, your brain isn't functioning like it is on a normal basis. It is scattered. It's all over the place. There are a million things bombarding you at once. The finality, the future, what you have to do, the list, the grief, all those things. Knowing what to do and how to answer all these people. Because what you're doing in that moment, I know this, and I'm speaking for Lindsay, but what it did for us is, in that moment, you're judging. You're trying to figure out, what is it that I do need? Yeah, my house is a huge wreck. I can't tell you to come over and do my laundry. And here's the thing. You can, depending on the friends you've got or the type of friends you have. You could look at someone and go, hey, you know what? My laundry is up to here and I can't do it. I can't get it done. Could you please do loads of laundry and not judge me for what my laundry looks like when it's dirty? And if you've got a good friend, they're going to go, whatever, and you're going to get it back folded and fluffed and it'll be fantastic. And this is the thing too, Kristen. So producer Kay and our family, we're like, if you have those types of friends, and Kristen could just come over and walk in our house and take laundry and leave, and we'd be like, what? And then bring it back, and we'd be like, oh gosh, we didn't know we needed that. Maybe you're that kind of friend too. Maybe you are. Yeah. Mas.
All right, Karen Stutzman said, melanoma, broken hip, tornado, daughter-in-law who almost lost her life in childbirth. Not everyone handles situations the same way. I love just knowing people were praying for us. The food, the offers for help, the endless visitors were priceless, but not everyone feels the same. Yeah. Love yours and Laura's story.
Thank you. It's true. That's the thing too. And you've just got to judge it with that. Oh man, okay, you really want to get in the designification of self, the designification of self and making it not about you. Here's what I didn't do early on, and I'm getting better at now. When Laura first had her surgery and she was home, I didn't want anyone in the house. I didn't want any visitors. I didn't want any noise. I didn't want any chaos, anything. I wanted peace and healing and calmness, all that kind of stuff. And Laura was like, I am bored and lonely. I am sick of you, and I want my friends. And it's not about me. So we had friends, and some of their friends brought kids, and I don't like noise, and it's not about me. And I just had to figure out what to do to make it about Laura and what's best for her and make it not about me. That's what I was doing. So again, that's the constant reminder. Like I have this thing when I do coaching calls. I have these statements because when you're doing these things, you don't behave like you do in normal society. Like it's not like a regular friendship. If you're really, really good friends with someone and they go through the deep, deep, deep crisis, you may have to be the bigger person a lot. They might say crazy stuff to you. They might hurt your feelings. They might lash out. They might, do all kinds of stuff. And all you've got to do is say, I'm just going to be bigger than this. I'm just going to trust that the friendship's going to be bigger. It's really interesting. It's crazy going through cancer while we're reading alongside and doing all this because people keep sending us their stories. And to watch relationships and friendships, and we've seen marriages, end over something that happens in one day. It's so regular. It's so common. We were saying the other day, it should take as long to lose a friend as it does to make a friend. And that's not always the case, but I think it should be more of the case than not. It should take as long to lose a marriage as it does to make a marriage. Or at least it shouldn't be so quick. Maybe we should reevaluate the crisis. More comments.
That's about it.
What? What's Todd say? Brokenness was a time I hated, but the best time that made me into the man, the dad, the husband, the Christian, the pastor I'm today. Would I want to go through it again? No way. But it means that it will build my character. Bring it on. You know what, Todd? I agree. I hear you. For sure. And that's what I wonder. I've asked this a lot. I wonder if when we're in heaven, when we look back on our lives, if the greatest times will be the times where I'm in the garage just bawling, telling the Lord, I know he's standing right there. I know he's with me, because then I'll physically get to see the Holy Spirit surrounding me in that moment as I'm listening to Job saying that the Lord doesn't hear me, right? Like I'll get to see all those things. I wonder, Todd, if our best times will be our worst times, because it was then we were closest to the Lord. It was then we knew when we are weak, he is strong. It's then when he was truly our Lord and Savior. What else? Roberta, thank you. Connie, so good to see you. Missy, dun, dun, dun. So good. Jason Pearson. Man, I gotta tell you. How do I see the comments on here? Is that it?
That's about it. Just little comments like, thanks for sharing.
Of course.
So important.
Definitely. Well, man, this has been great. Hour goes by so quickly. So quickly. I hope you're enjoying this month. Honestly, it's so much fun. I'd love to talk to you. So again, text the word upgrade to 345-345. It's right here at the bottom. If you're on the right page, where can I do? Yeah, right here. 345-345. That gets you this first free month. We are doing a deal with Family Talk, which may open a second month. We're not sure. Depends on the deal. But that should be coming up in the next couple of weeks. On the 24th, Sarah Beckman herself will be on here with me. We've got this fun thing. We're going to try to do a split screen where it'll be me and her at the same time answering all your questions. Again, any help you need, any questions you have, help@rubbleparenting.org. Subscribe to the podcast. Share it with your friends. Upgrade your life. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.